Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is what if Deku could use 100% of One For All Part 4. I want to thank you guys for just staying active, and I want to say sorry yet again. But my mic is, well, now I got a new mic now, so I should be posting as quickly or as commonly as I can. So, anyway. Deku wakes up after putting all his energy into a fight, and he wakes up surrounded by what seems to be 7 people in a pitch black room where the only things he could see around him was these 7 people. He sits up from what feels like a hospital bed, but he can't quite see the hospital bed, and then he stands up to realize that his legs are covered by certain coloured mist, a dark coloured mist. And this mist spreads around till all you can see is till his whole waist is covered. Like his legs and his waist are now covered with this black mist. That's when the original owner of One For All steps forward, um, and his brother is there, all for one. The argument continues as One For All is having a go at All For One for not using his power correctly. They haven't seemed to notice Deku, so Deku has going on in his head that he's not there. He's just seeing a vision of what he thinks is the original One For All owner. Uh, the original One For All owner is constantly having a go at the All For One owner, but the All For One is just shrugging him off and calling him weak. That's when he says, I've found a quirk that even your weak, frail body could handle. He puts his hand on his face, covering his whole face with his humongous hands as he gives him a quirk. This was the first time Deku has seen All For One, yet his face was still covered by some certain mist, and all you could see was a tightly fitted suit on his muscular body. Is that a bit weird? I don't know. Um, he gives the stockpiling. Wait, no. Yeah, he gives the stockpiling quirk to the frail body dude, to the frail body to the original owner as he flings him to the floor. That's when the original owner then looks at Deku as All For One walks off the stage. Well, off the as All For One walks into the darkness. Uh, what the One For All owner then says is, "You should subscribe to Jimbob729 No, what the One For All owner says is, Deku, this power has been passed along many people. You've just seen its origins. I wish I could show you more, but we just simply don't have time. You need to be ready. I know you can control a lot of power, but as you can see, there's more quirks to be unlocked with One For All. I believe that you can do it. Anyway, we're out of time. I have to go. Goodbye." That's when Deku then is pierced by bright lights as he suddenly wakes up, breathing heavily. What was that? Inko and Araka, who were both asleep by his hospital bedside, are woken up by the sudden jerk movements as Inko nudges All Might awake, who's sat back on a chair. They all check to see whether Deku's okay, as Deku starts to calm himself down, realizing what's happened. He says he's fine, and he says he's just a little tired, and he asks what the doctor's results are. The doctors say that there was a little bit of stress on his hands, so there might be some bruising, but apart from that, there might be some bruising on his hands and a little bit on his back, but apart from that, there shouldn't be anything too serious, and you shouldn't worry. He's just been knocked out from overexhaustion, from overuse of his quirk, and then that's when Deku's like, "Oh, okay." Uraka then fills Deku in with the news, with that news being that the UA festival is still going ahead, and Deku is invited to come, but he needs to talk to Aizawa about some rules first. On top of that, um, All Might's like, "Are you okay?" All Might's panicking in his Small Might form. That's when Deku's really concerned because he's like, "Wait, All Might's in his Small Might form? Wait, what? What? That's when he finds out that All Might has actually told Uraka and his mum. This is because All Might had the stubbornness to not leave, and neither did Uraka and Inko Midoriya. The reason All Might had no stubbornness, was really stubborn about staying, was because he felt like it was his fault Deku was unconscious, so he wanted to stay to see whether Deku would wake up alright, which he did, because he had enough power, but because he wasn't there, because he went to save people, he felt like it was his fault, so he wanted to be there when Deku waked up. Sorry, I'm just going to take a sip of my coffee. So, anyway, that's when Deku says, "Oh, well, okay. Do they?" And then Deku's like, "Oh, do you mind leaving?" Well, yeah, he says, "Mum, Uraka, do you mind leaving? I need to talk to All Might for a second." That's when they both leave, a bit confused why he wants to talk to All Might all of a sudden. He then tells him about the visions he's seen and asks, and All Might fills him in with like, "Oh, I've seen them before. It's just you symbolizing you've got closer to One for All. Though I I didn't think he would actually talk to you. That's new. Maybe One for All's getting stronger." And that's when Deku follows up the question with, "Oh, yeah, do they know everything?" All Might, All Might nods no, and Deku asks, "When can I tell her?" Her referring to his mum. And Deku then says, All Might then says, "Let me do it, Midoriya. I will do it." So, All Might walks out as Deku stays there resting on the bed, getting ready for the tournament. Uh, All Might then tells Inko Midoriya everything. By everything, it's the that Deku got his quirk from All Might. On top of that, Deku still has questions about the visions he's seen because he's not actually been told about it yet. So All Might needs to have that talk with him. But before he could do that, Aizawa walks in, and Aizawa basically says to Deku, "So you're stronger than All Might then?" and smirks. Deku then says, "No, no, I'll never be stronger than All Might." Aizawa says, "Well, without the experience, probably not, but you're definitely well on your way there." Anyway, this is a formal meet. This is a formal meeting about the. I'm sure you've heard from Uraka about the UA festival. We need to talk about that. Due to your incredible strength, the committee are thinking about banning you from it, when really I know you can limit your strength. I've seen you've done it before. So, Deku, you can either be banned from the UA Sports Festival for being too overpowered, or you can join in for 20% when it comes to the first tests. The reason we're limiting you to 20% is not because your safety, it's because of everyone else's around you. We know you can control your quirk, but we don't know how different people will react to being hit by such a large force that you can produce. So I want to say, and then Deku hurriedly agrees, cutting off the end of Aizawa's conversation like, "Okay, I'll limit myself, just please let me go to the sports festival." So Deku is now limited at the sports festival for the first half of it. When it comes to the 1v1 fights, he is free to use 100%, but only if it doesn't risk anybody else's like danger. So that includes the stadium and stuff. So yeah. On top of that, All Might then comes back in and he's like, right, we need to talk about One for All. You need to know the full truth. All Might then tells him the full truth that he somewhat was shown in the quote unquote visions, I guess, or the dreams he saw when he was unconscious. But All Might is fully backing up them dreams, and he's fully backing up the 7 people before him. And he's also telling him what happened to all them people before, and basically saying the point of One for All is to defeat All for One. That's when Deku and he also tells him that All for One was created by One for All. That's when Deku was. That's when All Might asked, "So, are you still inspired to become the symbol of peace? Are you ready to fight One for All?" Excitedly, he cheers. That's when Inko Midoriya comes back into the room, and so does Uraka, confused by the cheering. Deku's then like, I'm pretty sure I'm ready to go. So the doctors do some tests on him, and he's ready to leave. So he starts getting ready for the UA festival. First of all, he focuses on training with All Might. The reason he focuses on training with All Might is because he wants All Might to teach him battle techniques, because he can't use brute strength so much throughout the sports festival. He wants to focus a bit more on battle techniques. That's when Deku has learned to master, I think it's called the what's it called? The Winchester Smash? No. Um ah Yeah, that's when Deku's taught how to properly dodge, even though you might not have the power advantage. And he's also taught a secret finishing move that will not be mentioned yet, but it should be noted down that Deku does have a finishing move, but this isn't necessarily for the tournament. It's just that he needed to be taught this finishing move for when for if he ever gets into spot or trouble again, like he was with Nomu. Nomu? Yeah, Nomu. Anyway, so the UA tournament is coming up. The first round is, of course, the running round. I forgot what it's called. Obstacle course round. There we go. We'll just ignore that little mess up from me. Sorry about that. So, Deku starts off with a quick, and I mean quick, head start, and he's ahead of all the students. But then Todoroki freezes the ground. So what Deku does, he decides to jump. Because Todoroki focuses on freezing the ground in front of him. No, sorry, yeah. Deku decides to jump because Todoroki targets freeze the ground, but because Deku jumped, he doesn't have his flight quirk anymore. So what Todoroki does, he expends a lot of power shooting an icicle thing up into the air, because Deku's only at 20%, so he can't jump that high. He can jump like higher than he usually would, but not too high. So what Todoroki does is sends one of those icicles up there to basically freeze him in space, and that's when he gets ahead and ends up freezing everybody else behind him. So Todoroki is in the lead right now, and Deku is in flat last place, being stuck in the iceberg, not knowing what to do. That's when the big robots come, so Todoroki freezes them off. Todoroki, yeah, he freezes them off balance, and they all fall over, creating a kind of metal wall that none of the other students can get past, holding them back. Going back to Deku, Deku is still stuck there, so he sees the robots, but he can't do anything about it. So Deku decides that I've got to get out of here, but I can't use more than 20%. So he decides to go Detroit Smash, and Detroit smashes the ice. This cracks it a bit, but Todoroki did make the ice as dense as possible near the top, and of course on the way up to make sure it's all stayed sturdy. So basically, he made the sturdiest ice he could and focused on keeping Deku stuck in it. So what Deku decides to do is Detroit Smash, and he just keeps on Detroit smashing until the ice cracks enough for him to get his legs out. his legs are kind of like off balance because he's because they've just been frozen. So he falls over, then he picks himself back up and says full cowling, 20%, and then continues to run down the course. He runs really fast until he catches up to the robots that have been pushed off balance, and then just simply jumps over the body, and Kirishima and Tetsu pop out of the robots, and he looks down, and he passes them, and they look up, and that's when they're both having in their head, geez, he's really powerful. Not only is he fast, he also has strength. I wish I was that cool and had such a flashy quirk like he did. So anyway, Deku continues running, and he runs until it's the pillar, the pit of doom thing. So he has to focus on jumping in the certain spots to get past the pit of dooms, but he does that quickly. But Bakugo would be quicker than him than he was. Bakugo and Todoroki did do it quicker than him. But when it comes to the landmines next, that's what slows Bakugo and Todoroki down. So this is Deku's chance to get ahead. So what he does is he gets a run up, and rather than jumping high, he goes into the corner of the battlefield where no one else is, gets a run up, runs as fast as he can, and jumps long ways. This causes disturbance in the ground, which sets off all the landmines behind him, but because he's too quick, he's getting past all the landmines as they set off, and his speed is setting off all the landmines behind him because of how fast he's going over them. It's like he's running over them. But he's going faster because he's jumping. Then he realizes that he's not going to make it all the way. So he's like, okay, I got to do this again. And he jumps, and the boost of the landmine hits him. But because he's got full cowling activated, it only not messes up his landing. So he knocks himself over, and he gets back up, and it's a neck and neck race between Bakugo, Todoroki, and Deku. But Deku having 20% full cowling, he wins the race, which leads him to win the race closely because of the big catch up that Deku had to do. But it still won him the race, and everyone knows what his quirk is now. This is also where I am going to finish this episode, because I'm going to split it up into chunks because it makes it easier on the recording process. Anyway, I would thank you guys for watching. You've been an amazing crowd. Keep up the effort of being an amazing audience. Thank you again, and good evening. Goodbye.